Welcome to Voices of the North, a mini podcast series for the Culture Bar, made in collaboration with Talent Norway. Together, we will introduce you to some of the finest talents and rising stars of the North and bring you the voices of cultural and artistic leaders of Scandinavia. Hi, and welcome back to Voices of the North. I'm Karoline from HarrisonParrott, and I'll be your host today. Today, we will meet the young Norwegian musician Benjamin Mørk and his mentor Geir Luedy from Made Management. Benjamin is a pianist from the island of Senja in the northern parts of Norway. He's been a touring musician for 10 years, and for the past 2, he's been touring with world music artist Mari Boine. At the age of 26, he was the youngest ever artist in resident at the Arctic Arts Festival. He studied music at the Arctic University in Tromsø, and his musical influences range from Sakamoto and Rachmaninoff to Nils Petter Molvær, Deep Purple, and Motorpsycho. In 2020, he was one of the recipients of the Varanger Festival's Arctic Talent Scholarship. Geir Luedy is a Norwegian manager, musician, songwriter, and music producer. He's one of the key people behind Made Management, where he represents many well-known Norwegian artists such as Sigrid and Aurora. He's also a guest lecturer at Lillehammer Institute of Music Production and Industries. Welcome, guys. Thank you both so much for joining us today. I'd like to start off by getting to know you a little better. Benjamin, would you like to tell us a bit about growing up in the North and how you discovered your passion for piano?
Yeah, hi, I'm Benjamin, and it's almost like I recognize those words that you were telling. It's almost as if I wrote them myself. But you know, growing up here, I was a kid just like any other kid, and I went to the Kulturskole, you know, the music schools, the communal music schools, and I think my music interest really developed when we were about 14 or 15 and started. Obviously, we went to parties. We were minors, but we went to parties, and we wanted to play for at those parties. So that was really where I got my start at being in a party band. And but somewhere along the way, the other kids in the band, they went to high school, and I really wanted to go to a music high school, but I applied for the same school as the other guys went to, and after about a year, almost through first grade there, we had a talk. My German teacher had a talk with me at the end of the year, and he asked, "What is it really that you want to do?" I'm not interested in having this as a lazy student as you are. What is it really that you want to do? And I said, yeah, I've been thinking about music high school, and well, okay, let's go. And he dragged me up to the head teacher's office, and we applied for a music high school, and that's where I met my first a really big inspiration as a teacher. Amy Valnes is a fantastic jazz pianist, and moved to Tromsø, and I've been living here ever since. And really, I owe a lot to that German teacher. His name is Norbert Schmitz. I'd like to say thank you, Norbert, if you're listening.
Did you have any local role models other than your teacher? Any sources of inspiration while you were growing up in the North that made you interested in the arts?
Yeah, there's where I come from. It's called Vangsvik, and it's a small town on Senja that has it's had a lot of musicians and artists living there over the years, and obviously a lot of them are inspirations for me, and particularly an organ player that has that's a dad of a friend of mine, and he was a huge inspiration, my first teacher at the music school, and the other people that I started this band with were also huge inspirations growing up.
That's great. Geir, I would also love to hear a little bit about how you got started. How did you discover your passion for music growing up?
Well, I had no choice. It's like my mother was a musician. My dad was a musician. My older brothers were playing guitars. So that was kind of in my DNA. I started. My dad was playing classical piano, and my mother was playing Brazilian music, like all the time. So that was my big inspiration and start. And then I started a rock band, and then I started producing, and so I lived since I was 16. I just lived in the studio. 10 years ago, I went into management.
Great.
No German teacher for you.
No German teacher.
No.
Benjamin, I know you play something called mechanical piano. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that and how you discovered your sound.
Yeah, I'll try not to get too technical, but it's really quite simple. It's a method and a school of playing piano that I've developed, and it involves amplifying the mechanical sounds in a piano that are already there. And when you amplify those tiny sounds, you can use them to make rhythms, and it's all of a sudden it's important when you release the key. You have to time when you release the keys, because it also makes a sound. Normally when you play piano, you don't bother at all about that. It's just the length of the note, but now it actually makes a really loud sound. So you have to work that into the music, you know. And in short terms, that's it. And I developed and discovered this thing while going to university, a music conservatory, and I met a guy called Håkon Gebhardt, which used to play drums for Motorcycle, and he showed me these mics that he made. He'd made himself these microphones from birthday greeting cards, you know, the old ones where you would open them and they would go a song, beep beep beep, you know. And this is also could be a microphone, and he showed me how to make that for about 5 kroner something. So I made about 10 or 20 before I was able to make a sound, because I couldn't solder and they all went to shit. But after I got the first one right, I tried sticking it at various places at the piano, and for many years, or 4 or 5 years, I had a band, and in that band, this sound was just like a random effect. It was just there. It was a sound that we used in the band, but it was not in any sort of system or, you know. So, and then after the conservatory, I met some other people, and I wanted to do something entirely different than playing piano. And I met Per Martinsen, Mental Overdrive, Populars from Tungtvann, and they were working with hip hop and electronic music. And I found that really inspiring. Wanted to delve into those areas, and I did that for about 2 or 3 years. And then when I suddenly felt the urge to play piano again, I remembered this old mic thing. I found it in a plastic shopping bag, some stuff laying around from my old studio, and I hooked it up. And I always had this idea of a total system for piano playing, but being a kid at uni, I didn't have the stamina or the mental strength to work out this whole system, and because it involves a lot of practicing. That's the main part of it. It's the practicing. You have to put a lot of hours into making this thing work. So what was the question again?
How you discovered your sound, but
Yes.
You answered it very well. That's
how I discovered my sound.
Absolutely. Speaking of sound, I also want to talk to you a little bit about you being from the north and how that has influenced your sound. Do you think you have found inspiration in traditional folk music or Sami music, for example?
Yeah, I obviously, like you said, I used to play in Mari Boiner's band, and that's been a huge inspiration for me, meeting her musicians and getting to know Mari and how she works in music and with her voice and the rhythms. And there are some things that in uh, in Sami music that's time-wise, it's very cool because it's so open. It's always about the one. There's just a bunch of. We've always been talking about the bunch of ones, just 1 1 1. You don't count 1 2 3 4. It's just the one. So the rhythms are all over the place, but you have the steady beat, which is very open, and that's a very very inspiring thing to draw out from that kind of music. So working with Mari has been very inspiring, and obviously I've got to go. I've got to see gotten to see a lot of fantastic places and venues. And the last show I played with her was at Red Rock in Colorado, which is a legendary venue. There were signatures from the Beatles and U2, Rolling Stones, Willie Nelson, whatever, you know. And they had Skrillex and Wu-Tang Clan the days after us. That was getting to do those kinds of things were an amazing part of playing with Mari.
Yes, and I guess you could say Colorado is a far stretch from Senja, the other side of the world. Do you think it's important for artists to actually go out and see the world? Do you think getting new sources of inspiration might even bring you closer to your Nordic roots?
Yeah, I guess I've been living here all my life. I haven't been living somewhere else. I've been living here and traveling out and then getting back all the time, which for me is a huge strength to be able to come back here after being in wherever. But I love nature, but I'm not an artist that's super influenced. I don't walk around looking at the mountains and melodies come flying at me. I'm inspired by work and people, really. But I think that there's something in the landscape that, for me, being from here, gives me some sort of calm that enables me to make better art and music. But I don't think that's special for this place. There's a lot of places in the world that are beautiful, and if people are from there, they will appreciate that place and that calm that they feel coming from a place wherever they're from, and that will give them strength to make and inspiration to make better art and music. So that sometimes I've been thinking about that. I think wherever you're from, that's your inspiration, and it's beautiful for you in your way.
Beautifully said. Geir, I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter as well, both as a musician and also as a manager. Do you think it's important for artists to travel around and experience new sounds, maybe even to find their own?
Well, I've been traveling a lot since I was a kid because my mom was from Brazil, so I don't know any other way. But obviously, seeing the world is a part of who I am. So, and my work is obviously inspired by all the people that I've met around the world and all the places that I've seen. A couple of years ago, I also went on some tours following my artists, which is a different experience because you see a lot of the same stuff every day. It's like, you know, airports and venues and people from the music industry, which I felt was more like a copy-paste thing to do.
Yeah.
But normally I travel on my own and do meetings and stuff, and that's I feel like, you know, the culture difference is quite big, especially when you go to America. And so the industry works very differently, and the people are very different, and their DNA is different, and I find that very hard sometimes, and I find it very inspiring. And yeah, Brazil is definitely different from everyone. UK is different, Germany is different, and which makes us very different, I guess. But yeah, it has meant the world to me.
You know, I wanted to say one thing about that touring aspect. Obviously, I've been doing quite a bit of that, and for me, I've always tried to, wherever I am, I've tried to go out, because if you and see something, so whenever there's an hour or two, I try to take a walk around town, or ask somebody, is there something I should see here, somewhere I should go, something I can take in, because what you mentioned is the thing I've been struggling a lot with. It's the same every day. It doesn't matter if you're in Tokyo or you're in Berlin, because you're seeing a hotel room, a car, and a venue. So the antidote for me has been to get an hour or two out and about wherever you are. You know,
Explore.
Yeah, explore a bit. Even though it's Brønnøysund.
Yeah, I've been there too.
Yeah. Did you go touring?
It's 30 years ago now. We were there. There was I remember it because there was very nice people, and it was a party after the show. Right. And I think I was the one that left early, which was 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So they certainly know how to party.
Yeah.
That's great. I want to talk a bit about your professional relationship as a mentor and a mentee. How has working with a mentor that has such broad experience as a manager influenced you, Benjamin?
Well, it has certainly brought me out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways, because Geir is not afraid to tell it like it is, and ask you to do things that you maybe normally wouldn't do, in a positive way, of course. It's always very positive. But yeah, we've had over this fall, we've had, I don't know, 5 or 6 sessions, and I've been looking forward to them every week. It's a really nice hour where we get to talk about my music and how to work in the industry and who to connect with and things I could do and try that I normally maybe wouldn't think of. And yeah, I must say I've been enjoying it.
Out of curiosity, can I ask you why you chose a manager as your mentor?
We had been talking a little bit beforehand, and I felt that out of people in Norway that I wanted to work with, Geir was a natural fit, because he has a huge network. He has big artists, but he also has his background that he has mentioned, that he understands Brazilian music and classical music. He understands my music as well. That's also a big part of it, because I let's be honest, I don't make mainstream hits. It's So that's a strength. Yeah.
Absolutely. Geir, how has it been for you working with Benjamin? Has working with Benjamin influenced your professional and artistic endeavors?
You better come up with the right answer now.
Well, yes. I mean, I love doing. I do a couple of mentorships, and I think I discovered that why I want to do it is because I learn so much from it. I mean, you get into deep with the person and their music, and not personally, but how they approach the art and the industry, and that teaches me a lot, and it makes me have a new look at how I look at things. And obviously, it's like there's the music industry is changing every day, but it's complex in many ways, and I just tell my experiences, and the reaction is, of course, meaningful to me, and it teaches me, that people are different, and people have their own ways of on how they see things. We've been talking a lot about how to get the music out there, and I put myself in a role where I just say, you can do this, you can do that, and sometimes the ideas is extremely commercial or extreme in many ways. I just want to play ball, and that has been a very funny experience, because we laugh about how it works sometimes, especially when we talk about TikTok and stuff like that. That is quite far away in Benjamin's world, I would say, but definitely interesting how you can cross over to those mediums, because at the end of the day, it's like TikTok is now bigger than radio on breaking new acts. And the world that Benjamin comes from has always been more conservative when it comes to marketing and PR. So it's been that's been a funny process to talk about. And I would say we are trying things. I mean, Benjamin is not conservative, so we are trying things, and we're exploring those opportunities.
May I ask, is it different being a manager and being a mentor?
No, it's not very different, because on management we have the day-to-day side of it, where you organize an artist's life. I don't do that very much. It's been years. So basically, I do strategy and building network, and I give feedback on the music, on the visual profile, and the strategy, and of course I do a lot of contracts, at least the main contracts that the artists have. So I think strategy is the most important thing, and maybe balance the expectations on, okay, this is what you want to do, then I think we need to do this. This is how much work we need to do. This is how commercial you need to go if you want to reach that goal. And we've been discussing a lot of strategy and music as well. And I think, like, I never go to the artist and say, I love that song, but we're not going to use it. It's like, it's not my record. It's all about the artist. But we can talk about consequences. We can talk about, if you want to go that direction, we probably need to go down a little bit on the venues, the capacities, and we need to, work more in that era. But yeah, it's not so very different, really.
Benjamin, you are a part of one of the Talent Norway programs. Would you be able to tell me a little bit about that, and what has that meant to you? How has that helped you?
Obviously, it's helped with connecting me with Geir and facilitating our partnership, and that's been a huge inspiration and help for me, especially now during the pandemic, and 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 obviously the grant that I got from Bergen Festival, which enrolled me into this program, helped massively with my year financially, because everybody was so affected by the pandemic, and it's been a huge help both in maintaining the talks with Geir has been great for keeping the activity level up, not dropping down, and that's been might be the main thing of it, that the talks with Geir have kept me working.
Can I ask, this is a question for both of you really, do you have any advice to young artists in the North struggling to find their way or struggling to find their own artistic voice?
I was in Tromsø. That's where I met Benjamin the first time. And
Yeah.
there was quite a few young artists that was frustrated about, like, there is facilities, but there is no music industry there.
Oh,
and I think in Bergen, I mean, the Oslo press has been calling it the Bergen Wave
for years.
For years, yeah. But it's and the artist sometimes talks about the rain and the mountains, and that could be a thing. But to be honest, I think it's a lot about infrastructure and music industry. So we have some music industry, which we can take care of the artists, and we can, when you apply for some money, for example, from the government to go on a tour, 90% of that happens and it doesn't make any sense. You do the tour and then 6 months later there's an album, because artist doesn't necessarily know how to make a strategy on their. So the money is out of the window when it comes to building the career very often. So I think the music industry is needed. I actually love the music industry, but you need infrastructure, and you need a business side of it too. And I think that's the only difference. I think the people in Tromsø that I met is fantastic, and they want to do it and they want to develop. So it's maybe time to develop more the music industry side of it.
Yeah, that's true. There's certainly no lack of talent. I think there's obviously a lack of industry, and business. Where we have great facilities, but not a lot of the infrastructure that you've mentioned. Yeah, it's true. I told Geir earlier at one of our sessions that it's not the first time that a northern Norwegian came to Bergen and some guy from Bergen was selling his merchandise abroad. And so I feel this is natural. This is a natural
Something like that, yeah. But I would say that 20 years ago in Bergen, there was
maybe the same situation that we were in.
Yeah, I would also say that there was a lot of independent artists that would more in a do-it-yourself thing, that people were afraid of the music industry, and that the big corporate capitalistic blah blah blah. Obviously, I don't see myself in that position now. I mean, we mainly develop new acts, and that's what we love doing. That's what I love doing, and it's more about the music, and of course the strategy it's the music industry is sometimes about making money, but it's more about that development, I would say.
Thank you both so much for joining us today. It has been very inspirational to learn more about music and art in the North. Thank you to our sound editor, Merlin Thomas, and thank you for listening to Voices of the North. If you would like to know more about Talent Norway and their projects, please visit www.talentnorge.no/tnarena.